if you need a chair, staff, I brought some other ones in. There's chairs in the back. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me? Somebody know how to turn the speakers up?
Testing.
How's that? Getting better?
Takes a little.
No.
Getting better?
Can't hear us?
Getting better?
Can you hear us now?
Yeah.
A little bit more?
A little bit more?
How are we doing in the back? Can you hear us?
There we go.
Okay. Thank you.
Can you hear me now, as they say?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I'm glad you said that.
You turn that off?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight for the February 8th, 2018 regular meeting of the Guymon. We're going to start with the Utilities Authority. So we'll start with call to order. And for that, I'd like to invite Larry Watson to come up and give our invocation. Larry? He's a preacher of the First Christian Church. He'll come over here to the podium.
Okay, we'll do it however you want me to do it.
Well,
Would you please pray with me? Father God, I thank you so much for the city of Guymon. I thank you that you have made us the star of the Panhandle. And I ask right now that the people that make up this city would pause for just a moment and bring you into the business. Father, let the decisions that need to be made here tonight be made, not just for today, but when this city's twice our size. We thank you so much for the blessings you bring to us and for the future you have laid out. Give us, as your people, collective wisdom. Help us to negotiate our agendas well with one another, because we all have different things that we would like to see. Above all things, let us honor you in the things that we do and in the things that we say. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call this meeting to order. We're going to, agenda item number 2 is approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Alvidrez.
Aye.
Crone.
Aye.
Livingood.
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Agenda item number 3, we're going to get to public comments right after that. Agenda item 3, so that Mr. Curtis can get to his daughter's basketball games. We're going to go forward with that. Agenda item number 3 is discussion and possible action on approval of the agricultural lease between the Guymon Utilities Authority and Clay Curtis.
This is a contract that Clay and I have been working on over the past month. It's up for renewal this time. The percentage and the rate that we have worked on, I believe, is fair for the city.
Your recommendation is approval. Okay. Any questions, discussion?
So does Mr. Curtis have anything to add to this?
Clay, you got anything you want to add?
Can you come up?
Why don't you come up to the podium? That way we can get you on the big screen.
I'm Clay Curtis. I think I know most of you. We've been farming for the city of Guymon since 2001, I believe, and we'd just like to continue doing so. It's worked well for us. I think it's worked well for the city of Guymon, so I would appreciate a continued partnership.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion?
I make a motion that we approve the approval of the agricultural lease between Guymon Utilities Authority and Clay Curtis.
I'll second it.
3.
Have a motion and a second.
Swager.
Aye.
Livingood.
Aye.
Alvidrez.
Aye.
Crone.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Okay, we're going to go to public comments and announcements. If you have public comment or announcement, please come up to the microphone, talk into so we can hear you. Tell us your name. And Mr. Alvidrez, we've got 3 minutes, so Mr. Alvidrez will be our timer. And Mr. Harris has got a little something to start with.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. What you have is the annual report that we talked about in the past. He's got these printed up today, and you can look through and see some of the information that we have on it. What we will do is put that on the website tomorrow, so it'll be available for everybody to view, and then we will do a press release showing a link back to the website if anybody wants to review that. But that's got some of the information. One thing real quick, I know there was a lot of chatter on social media about gas rates. Y'all probably heard some. And for some reason, I didn't, but I did go back and look at the gas rates. There was a lot of stuff about IBTS raising the gas rates. The last time gas rates were raised was July 14th, 2011. They have not been raised at all any percent since that point. So for those that lack the facts, just want to make sure that comes back to life.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did
Y'all
you
have any
say
questions on our
July
report?
when?
July 14th, 2011.
2011.
Resolution 1111.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Public comments, anybody else?
Mr. Boring.
Microphones are not working very
They're
well.
not working very well back there.
Test.
Audio is not very well.
How's that? Can you hear me back there? Turn her up just a little bit more. Clean the wax out of her ear.
Test, test, test.
Can you hear us, Mr. Mitchell?
Can you hear this one?
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Austin Boring, Council Chairman. I am one of those guys that raised comments on Facebook about the gas prices. They are a little high, but instead of complaining about it, one of the things I want to recommend is that I've heard a lot of complaints about people saying, you know, I've got a home and I'm getting billed these rates and I'm not even there. I'm gone. And I haven't been in that house for a month, but I'm still getting this outrageous bill. Well, it sounds to me like the city's doing a lot of averaging. And that's a problem. That's a big problem. We don't have the manpower to read every meter. It's impossible in a city. So I think one of the things that I think would be cost effective for the city and save a lot of money for the city and save a lot of money for people themselves is to look at what cities like Dumas is doing and putting black boxes on meters to where those things are automatically read and sent immediately out for billing. Tri-County did it. I think it'd be a great benefit, and it would give the people of this community a lot more security into knowing that what they're getting billed is what they're using. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Any other public comments? All right. Agenda item number 5 is new business. Agenda item number 6 will adjourn as the Guymon Utilities Authority. Come on, baby. We're going to reconvene as the Guymon City Council. Agenda item number 1 done. Agenda item number 2 is attendance roll call.
Peterson,
Here.
Swager,
Here.
Crone,
Here.
Alvidrez,
Here.
Livengood,
Here.
Mr. Wagner,
Here.
Mr. Petty.
Here. All right, agenda item number 3 we've done. Agenda item number 4 is presentation of the proclamation declaring the week of February 8th through 12th to be the Business Professionals of America Week. Do we have any representatives of the, if y'all want to come up front, all your kids or everybody that's here?
Look sharp.
Yeah.
They look making
Make
us
you
look
look
bad. I know.
All right. Okay. Well, let me read this proclamation, then I'll present it to you, and you can get some photos and do whatever you'd like to do. Then you can go back to the ball games or whatever. Whereas the school is concerned with the business education and training of students for productive, satisfying careers, and whereas Business Professionals of America is recognized by the United States Department of Education as a national career and technical student organization and an integral part of career and technical education, and whereas Business Professionals of America has members in 23 states preparing for careers as tomorrow's business professionals, and whereas Business Professionals of America is helping to develop leadership abilities, competency in business information technology and office occupations, and interest in the American business system. Therefore, I, Kim Peterson, Mayor of Guymon, Oklahoma, and the City Council do hereby proclaim the week of February 12th through 16, 2018 to be Business Professionals of America Week in Guymon, Oklahoma, and urge all citizens to assist in according this observation the attention and importance it is so rightly entitled. And I'll read these names. I think I've got everybody present for the proclamation. It's Ms. Summer Bainey, the advisor. Haley Bainey, the president. Hold your hand up. Hi, there you go. Everybody knows you. Daniel Ortega, vice president. Jesse Mesta, excuse me, I probably said that wrong. Secretary. Pa Ku, is that right? Treasurer. And Erica Ayala, historian reporter. Give them a big hand. Who's taking pictures? Anybody got a phone? Somebody's out there's got a phone, or you give your phone. Here comes Shelby. She'll take pictures and give them. Let's line up kind of over here. Agenda item number 4 is presentation of the monthly activities and the financial report by Artist Incubation.
Jim Quimby, one of the board members, and they elected me to come visit with you tonight. I think we're getting really close on getting the commercial kitchen in operation. We've finally got contractors that's been able to come in and give us some bids and trying to finalize some bids on what it's going to take to redo the drain and everything and put the trap in and redo the sinks and get the, I think Erica Sharkey, yeah, she's our inspector. She's come down and kind of signed off on everything. So hopefully we can get that finished up real soon and we can start having classes real soon on a contractor. I can't vouch for them, but real soon would be tomorrow for us, but I know it's not that way. But anyway, we've had Yvonne Sangster did an art class about 2 weeks ago, and we had Leadership Guymon in there last week. We have got art camps set up for during spring break for the kids, and the summer schedule I think is being finished up for a lot of the art camps for kids. And Yvonne actually wants to do her art. She wants to do an art camp every other month now, along with the other things we're doing. So, and we've got, I think I mentioned that Leadership Guymon was there last Friday. We've got Leadership Oklahoma coming out real soon, and that's always a great visit from them, and they support us really well and buy a lot of art and stuff that night. So. Everything else is, you know, keep doing our advertising, keep doing our promotions, and business as usual. So, any particular questions or anything we can answer? Or?
Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Anyway, we appreciate you, and thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 7 is consider approval of the final concept. Nope. Six. Oh, I'm sorry, Melinda. Come on up. I've moved my screen wrong. Agenda item number 6, thank you, gentlemen, is presentation of the monthly activities and financial report by Main Street Guymon.
No, I take that personal.
Yeah, sorry. I apologize.
Okay, our January report is short because I did have a 2-week vacation. But we do have the annual awards evening coming up on the 20th. And so there's a ticket if you would like to go. We can seat you all at a different table so you won't get in trouble. And it's a fun time because that's a good time for us to honor our volunteers and our members and our businesses, and there's some really good businesses getting awards that evening. In January, we had only 49 hours of volunteer hours, and out of 26, have you noticed that the volunteer hours go down greatly when the weather is cold? Yeah, it's amazing. But we do have our vital volunteer for January, and that's Daniel Ortega, who was up here with a picture with you just a minute ago, and he's one of our transformers. Will you tell just a little bit about yourself?
Talking right so they can get you on TV.
Okay, I'm currently a junior in high school. I've been in the Transformers program since I was a freshman. I've clocked in about 400 plus hours on volunteering. I have an older brother, Alfonso Ortega. He really got me into the program, got me into volunteering, and he currently serves in our military. But due to him, I'm able to do all these great things along with Malin and the Transformers program.
Congratulations.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
He's awesome. Now, Eric's also one of our transformers. But we do have a couple of partner events that I really think you need to be aware of. Guymon Community Theater has a play starting. The opening night is on the 9th. And the Chamber has a drawdown on February 17th. Jada, is that for the Pioneer Day? Yes. Okay. We also have the Heart Healthy Lunch and Learn at the fire station on February 13th. And Grant Wadley will be talking about high blood pressure. And there's quite a few of our medical members in on that. And do you have any questions about January?
I don't.
Questions? All right.
Full house.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, now, agenda item number 7 is consider approval of the final conceptual plan for the City of Guymon Soccer Complex to authorize the city manager to begin raising funds for the soccer complex and research and apply for grant opportunities.
Mayor, I'm not going to ask to table this, and I just want to I want to be as informational as we can. I have some very valid questions after they are done.
Okay. We all do.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I think this is an exciting day for the city because here before you tonight is the final concept plan that we have been working on for about a year for the soccer complex for the City of Guymon. And what we have in working diligently with the school district and getting a lot of cooperation from the school district, we have a joint site plan that shows not only the soccer field, but also shows how this will be integrated with the Prairie Elementary expansion. So we will have common parking, common access, common facilities, shared cost. And by getting this final concept plan to you tonight, we are hopeful that now we'll be able to annex the property into the city. we will be able to kick off our fundraising and promotion program because we will have something to show people as we go around and do our fundraising. And we will also be able to start looking at grant opportunities to raise additional monies to make the soccer complex a reality. So with us here tonight is John Fielder of Kimberly Horn, our consultant, who is going to take you how we started, how we got here tonight, and how we came to this concept. We also have Tina McGowan, who's the CEO of the Y. She is here for support tonight as well. Jada Breeden with the Chamber of Commerce is also here this evening to show support for the complex. And also Geraldine Sanchez, who has been a wonderful resource for us going through this process, also is here tonight, and I believe also has some of her soccer players here tonight to show support for the project. So, Mr. Fielder.
Evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to be back here. Just thank you again for, it's been a privilege working on this project, and I've got a presentation that we'll just go through all the steps that we've gone through to get to this point this evening. So we started off back in October. We got the notice to proceed from Council, and from there we did a project kickoff with staff and with the soccer user group, visited the site, prepared a site analysis, and then from there we developed preliminary conceptual design.
Can you speak into the, they can't hear you back there.
Sorry, okay, is this better?
Turn that one up.
Can you turn that microphone up?
What number
please?
is that? What's the number on that mic?
It's number 10.
Number 10. Test.
Okay, is this test? Is this better?
That's better.
All right. Okay, so we actually got started, we got notice to proceed from Council back in October 12th of last year. Following that, the next day we did site visit, performed a site analysis. We met with the soccer user group and with staff, and just gathered feedback on what the needs were and some things like that. And then from there we developed a site analysis, 3 preliminary concepts, and then we reviewed those with staff throughout the month of November, and then we returned back here to have a workshop on November 30th, where we presented the 3 concepts in a public workshop, gathered feedback, and then from there it was evident at the meeting that concept A appeared to be the preferred concept, and so we took that, incorporated some other comments to develop the plan that you see here tonight. And so this was some of the things we worked through were coordinating with the adjacent site to have the site plan for the entry drives and the parking lot work well with the soccer complex. As far as next steps, we would move forward the last phase of our conceptual design, which would be to do the 3D fly-through and visualization. And so that's the next step after approval of the concept. So some of the slides we had were this is the site analysis where we visited the site, looked at the topography and some of the site features, and then we looked at the adjacent property and look where driveway entries are off the highway and things like that. Then we created a concept development diagram, just looked at where different areas made sense. So there was a couple of options for parking lot, a couple of options for soccer field and site amenities, and this helped drive what the concepts A, B, and C, which we presented on the 30th. So concept A, in order to have more fields on the site, we knew that having off-site parking would be the best way to accomplish that. So we had concept A that we knew would require coordination with the adjacent school. We also had concept B. Concept B had the parking on site, but it had access drive. The entry drive would be on the school property. So with two options that required coordination with the school district, we also had concept C, which had all the parking on one site and the access drives on site as well. So the downside on this is that And concepts B and C, you end up with fewer fields. So generally, people preferred A, I think, because they got 5 soccer fields out of it. So some of the concepts that some of the comments we received were they liked concept A, but they wanted a trail, a loop trail. So we were able to incorporate that into this final design. So we've got the overall concept site plan that shows all phases. So you've got 5 soccer fields and then the adjacent parking lot and entry drive that's incorporated with the school site plan. We also developed a phasing plan. So as far as breaking this into multiple phases, doing phase 1 is soccer fields 1 and 2 up here on the northwest corner, the parking lot and the loop trail, walking trail. That would all be, we're showing that as phase 1. Phase 2 would be the 3 remaining fields. And here's just a zoomed in. So this is phase 1. You can see you got the 2 fields, parking lot, loop trail, shaded bleachers, lighting on the championship field. So you get a nice starting complex with phase 1. And then phase 2, that's the final concept. So you've got all 5 soccer fields, shaded bleacher areas, large shaded bleacher areas of the championship field, lighting, restrooms, pavilion, and then of course all the parking and the loop trail and sidewalks. And so the next steps, we're here to answer questions and gather any comments and feedback from council. Pending your approval of the concept, we would move forward with the visualization portion, and then after that, we'd move forward with final design, construction documents.
Thank you. Mr. Clapsaddle, in your opinion, was enough time given and input taken from Parks Board on this project?
Through you, Mayor, we had three public meetings.
I was at one.
We had one before we brought Kimberly Horn on board. We had 2 after that. We have another scheduled under contract once we get the flyover done. We had 2 meetings with the Parks Board to get their comment, to get their insight, and so we did meet with the Parks and Tree Board on 2 separate occasions.
Were there any adjustments done on behalf of the Parks Board recommendations?
Through the public hearing process and everybody that we talked to through this process, concept A turned out to be the preferred choice. Now, when we talked to the Parks and Tree Board, we had other concepts there, and were some more favorable to other concepts? Sure, there was discussion. We had a lot of input, took questions, provided answers, and so we tried to be as thorough as we could.
And this concept is going to be mutually beneficial for both parties, City of Guymon and the Guymon school system?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to be recognized.
Mr. Boring?
I'd like to present to the council a state statute. Mr. Patrick.
Thank you. What's in this state statute?
It has to deal with the planning of this soccer complex. As a former vice chairman of the planning commission, this plan was never brought to us in the planning commission.
If I can interject, it hasn't been brought to you yet. It will be brought to you after the conceptual deal's done, and when we are ready to plat it and ask for it to be annexed in the city.
Well, unfortunately, with that comment, Mr. Chairman, according to state law, before final action may be taken by any municipality department thereof on the location, construction, or design of any alley, playground, statue, memorial, park. I would consider this a park, parkway, boulevard, street, and so forth. The question should be submitted to the Planning Commission for investigation and report. Mr. Clapsaddle said that this has been discussed with multiple people, but I don't remember this ever being discussed with the Planning Commission. And with us having a comprehensive plan that the Planning Commission set forth, voted for, approved, set forth to the City Council, and the City Council approved that comprehensive plan, under state statutes, in my opinion, according to this should be submitted to the Planning Commission before a final concept and planning should be done. That has not been done.
Are you against the soccer complex, Mr. Boring?
No, but I am for the process of which it should be approved. There is a reason why we have boards and planning commissions and stuff like that. And IBTS is...
But this will go to the Planning Commission.
It should have already been before the Planning Commission for the planning and development.
Mr. Chairman, I think before we go any further, this commission, the council is not taking final action. That's the language of the statute. The council will not be taking final action on this project tonight. This is simply a matter to move it forward to see what funding is going to be available before final action can be taken. Mr. Boring's comments, I think, are just premature.
Mr. Petty, with all due respect, your agenda says consider approval for a final concept of the plan.
Final action is the word, and I'm not going to argue the law with you, Austin.
Well, the agenda says what it says, approval for final concept of the plan. It doesn't say discussion, it says consider the final approval.
The statute says final action.
It is what it is up on the board and is what it is on the agenda, and I'm giving to you, in my opinion, what state law says.
And we'll thank you for your opinion, Mr. Bourne.
Thank you.
I've got it.
Go ahead, Mr. You had something?
No, I got a question.
Okay, please come up to the mic.
Sorry. My name is Geraldine Sanchez. I'm coordinator of club soccer here in Guymon. And I would just like to say we're all for the soccer complex, and we want this soccer complex to benefit the whole community, not just soccer itself. So whatever steps need to be taken in order for it to get done that way, we're all in the waiting process. We've already waited 6 years already, and we just want it done right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Clapsaddle.
I think the only thing I would add is that the important word here is concept plan. We will take the final site plan to the Planning Commission for their review, for their for their input, and for a recommendation that they will make to you, to the City Council, as an advisory board. We'll put that on the record, that this definitely will go to the Planning Commission. There's a lot of work to do here. Grading, we have irrigation, clearing, grubbing, doing drainage work. There's a lot of that kind of work that is going to have to be done. And it's possible that as we go through that work, some of this may change a little bit from the concept plan once we get to that step. And if there's a significant change, we will take it back to Planning Commission and to you for final approval. This is only the final concept plan so we can move forward to explore funding opportunities to make sure this becomes a reality.
Mr. Clapsaddle,
yes, sir.
I'd like to ask who chose final concept A over B and C specifically?
Through three public open houses, we had everybody who attended had a chance to fill out a little sticky note, put it up on a board, put it up on all the concepts, what they liked, what they didn't like, what they think they should be added, what they think should be taken out. They did that for all of the concepts that we had. They also had a chance to fill out a form to say what they liked about each one, what they didn't like about each one, and we took that, went back to Kimberly Horn, and did some redesign, did some work taking those comments into account and moving forward that way. So, in looking through all the comments, all the sticky notes, all the public work that we did, Concept A turned out to be the preferred choice.
Mr. Clapsaddle,
Yes.
if I remember correctly, I believe that the children's playground was supposed to be also presented on this concept. Are we not doing that now, or where are we at with those stages?
The beauty of this concept and having a master development plan for the school site and the soccer complex is that we're going to have shared access and shared facilities. So we wound up not having to put a playground on this site because through cooperation with the school district, we will be able to use the facilities on the school site during times of games and tournaments. So the other concepts had parking on the site. Once we got with the school district, once our architect worked with the school district architect to come together for a plan that worked for both pieces of property, Concept A was the preferred choice, and luckily, it was the one that fit best with what the school board was also proposing. So it worked, it meshed together quite well.
If we approve this final concept tonight, how much room do we have for making changes to this as we go along?
You have a lot of room because this is, again, just a concept plan. We're going to come back with a final. We're going to come back with a final site plan showing how this is going, to be finally done. Again, after we do the groundwork, after we do all the work that we're going to have to do out there, after we work with the school district on the parking, after we work on seeing how this layout will work, you will have lots of chances to make changes. We can make changes in the phasing. We've got the way we're proposing the phases tonight is for the first two fields. We may come up with a better idea once we get to that point. We may say it's best to do phase one, to do all the fields, but maybe do all the secondary stuff like the lighting and the shaded bleachers and paving these sidewalks and doing the walking trail. Instead of doing the walking trail during phase one, we may turn out it's best to do it in the final phase, both for cost-wise and for ease of construction. That's possible. So the quick answer is you will have plenty of bites at the apple with this plan.
Will community members have the say in the changes to this final plan?
We have one more public meeting under contract with Kimberly Horn. Once we have the flyover, that's going to be a good depiction of what this is going to look like. After we're ready for final site plan approval, we will have another hearing, that we can have another public hearing, another public open house before it gets to Planning Commission and before it gets to you. So if the concern is, can we have the public look at this again before it comes up for final action, the answer is yes, we can.
I think most of the controversy, Mr. Clapsaddle, has been that yes, you went to some of the board committee meetings. You had some public meetings, but you left them with the impression that there was going to be some sort of I'm going to call it an informal vote on the concept. And, you know, Mr. Petty's already explained the word final, but it's popped up here on this agenda as a final concept, and that's a little bit scary. I have talked, or I didn't call anybody. They let me know that there's been a lot of people that felt like they were going to have you bring this to them and say, what do you actually think? Is this your choice of concept, or do you like B or C better? And by that, I mean the committee meetings, department heads that are going to be working on this thing. It's a gamut of people, I mean, from all walks that have been contacting me. And you have just left them with the impression that they were going to have a lot more input than what they've had. Now, as long as I'm talking, I'm going to address the second half of this agenda item. And on February 25th of 2016, when we first talked about this soccer complex, we were assured that there would be no municipal funds used on it. It would all be donation and grants. And so I found this a little shocking. I didn't realize that we were going to have to authorize the city manager to go out and look for grants and donations and what have you. I can't believe that for the last 2 years we haven't already been looking. As a matter of fact, in that meeting in February of 2016, no offense, Mayor, but the mayor said that he knew quite a few people that were ready to write a check. So, you know, the second half is kind of a no-brainer. But the first half, the public really thought they were going to have a lot more voting type input. Thank you.
Does this mean that, okay, you know, Mr. Levengood, the children's playground, does that mean that the schools are allowing kids to play on their playgrounds at any time?
When we have a tournament, when we have a game, we are going to have an agreement with the school district that we will have joint access to their facilities.
Okay, but what about...
Yes.
So what happens if someone
out
falls and breaks their arm on the school property? Then who's going to be liable, the city or the school? And that's kind of where my concern is coming from.
I don't know if I have an answer for that. Mr. Petty, do you have any?
Depends on a lot of things. That's not.
When they have recess, they have a teacher out there that's assigned. I was talking to one the other day that was crying because she had recess duty when it was so cold.
Sure, and I think we will have people there as well. I mean, we're going to have volunteers, we're going to have parents, we're going to have people there.
I think the city would have the same
kids.
liability it would with Thompson Park.
Okay. Is there any plans for a stoplight with that housing addition across the street from, you're going to have kids that are going to want to cross that highway and play soccer?
A stoplight here? Or
I think before there, I think you got to slow traffic down.
Okay.
Anywhere. I guess was curious if there was any plans for a stoplight.
The way
Or does that all come with the concept later? The talking to ODOT?
Exactly. We will be talking to ODOT along with the school district about those issues. The way that signals are approved is that you have to meet warrants. And once it meets warrants, and once it meets a certain standard that it's necessary, then a stoplight will be done. So that's part of the studies we're going to have to do after we get the concept plan approved, that we'll be able to move forward with ODOT. Because now we'll have something to take to ODOT. We don't have anything to take to them right now. And if we have this to take to them, we now have the ability to show them, here's our ideas, we need to sit down, we need to work out the details.
It just seems like there's a lot of questions still, and I know the funds that were originally there, Mr. Petty, can you elaborate on this? We don't lose them if we just wait.
No, the funds are there. I can't recall the exact amount. It's
Okay.
probably close to $750,000.
Okay. And waiting is not going to hurt those funds at all, right? Because it just seems there's a lot of questions.
In my opinion, and it's just an opinion, I think there's too many loose ends to tie up that need tied up, and questions that need addressed on this to have the word final on
Right,
this
but this is going to happen.
Mhm.
I mean, this is going to happen. This is going to be a soccer complex that's going to come to Guymon.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. And if I could, while I was thinking, just quickly, Commissioner Crone, address your question about grants. we look at grants every day. I get on my computer and look on a weekly basis. So we are looking, but we cannot come back to you with grants to ask for your approval. We come and ask for your approval before we apply. So we are working on getting that list together so that once this is done, we'll be able to come back. Here's some grants that we can apply for and get your permission to act and move forward.
Any other discussion?
Can I be recognized?
I guess you can. Come up front.
You're Nick.
Nick, come up to the mic if you would.
I know most of you. My name is Nick Neville. And what I see about this whole plan, I think the location is very ill-conceived. I'm totally for soccer, anything that adds to the city of Guymon.
If I could address that.
Yes, sir.
The land was donated to us by the Nash Foundation, so we had, and plus the amount of money they gave came along with the land. And so our choice, our selection of the site was, we had no selection. It was donated to us with the express desire that we construct a soccer field there. When that was all started, of course, shortly thereafter, a grain handling facility was built. But
yes, and anything like that comes in between changes the situation. But the situation has always been there with the traffic problem of traffic trying to get off of 136 to go up onto 54. You got room for about 4 cars there. So when everybody's coming from this soccer field, and I don't know what the estimated number of cars is, I know how many cars are around the Kids Inc. soccer fields, so I'm assuming it's going to be kind of proportional to that. I don't see a remedy for traffic to be able to get off of 136 by the Colonial Inn to go up to the stoplight at 54. Because when school lets out, and I don't know if any of you have driven out there, which I think would be a really good idea with this in the works, and see what the traffic's already like. And also, since this was conceived or thought of or donated or whatever, which I don't think financial consideration should be the only reason that something is developed. If I had land given to me that was in a sinkhole, I don't think just because it was given to me, if it looked like a bad location, I would build there. And I think it behooves all of you to go out to that location when school's letting out and see how much traffic is backed up down 136 to try to make that little turn, that small area there up to the stoplight. Because nobody can get off of 136 when people are coming from the school, and now you're going to add exponentially to the traffic problem. And I don't see a spot where you could really put a light unless you put it right there by the Colonial to stop traffic so 136 can get some relief every little bit. Then you've got the other stoplight at 54 that's maybe 100 yards away. So my contention is that even though this was donated land and yippee, we're getting a freebie and all of this stuff, that doesn't do away if you've got a public safety issue of trying to get people where they need to be. Because you got a freebie and you want to build it where you're talking about building it. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into consideration just besides, oh, we got free property here, we got free money to work with, if it starts messing up traffic. And it's already very difficult for trucks to turn off of 54 to try to go south and get on 136. And I think these are some of the problems that need to be addressed. And I don't know, I'd like to know from Mr. Clapsaddle what kind of a traffic survey they did. And once they found that out, was there going to be a way to alleviate any problem from extra traffic if it were to develop, which, I mean, it's already there. But Prairie's going to be bigger, so there's going to be more traffic there. Not only that, you're all of a sudden you're landlocking another school like North Park. So if at some point in time you want to add on to Prairie, where are you going to go with it?
A lot of questions. Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? What do you want?
I would like for him to answer the question about the traffic survey or the implications, what they looked into on that.
Let's let our,
So we actually did go visit the site during, I believe it was drop-off on a Friday morning, school drop-off, and there is significant traffic out there. So, I mean, our traffic engineers would go out and look at peak flows. So we didn't do a formal traffic study. That really wouldn't be the typical process at this stage. This is concept level. What we want to do is gather feedback. Do we like the concept? If we like the concept, we can move forward with design, and that's when we start looking at traffic counts, looking at peak flows, peak traffic counts along coming in and out of the school, coordinating with ODOT on if they're going to allow another driveway cut for the school or for the park. You know, does it make sense to do a traffic signal, anything like that? So that all starts at the preliminary design phase. Once we, you know, that's all after the concept where we are right now.
anything else?
I don't.
I'd make a motion that we authorize the city manager to begin raising funds for the soccer complex and research and apply for grant opportunities and take the concept back to the boards, department heads, and public and let them vote a little bit, informal vote on the concept and let them realize that this is what we think is okay and get their opinion. Thank you.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
May I ask a question, sir? We need direction. So I want to make sure I understand what you want us to do. Do you want us to go back to the Tree and Parks Board? Do you want us to go to, how much do you want us to go to every board? I'm not trying to be, I just want to make sure we do what you want us to do.
I think Parks and Tree Board is probably the main one because they're the ones that are really involved in this thing. It falls under Parks Department, and same way with the department heads, you know, whoever's in charge of the.
How much is a traffic study?
Sorry, I really don't have that number, but I can get that information to you. So it would start out, we would have to hire out traffic counts, so getting the counts and then doing the study. And
I assume it'd be expensive. I mean, but that place is really.
It just depends on what we're doing. If we're doing a signal, the full signal design and a warrant study, that can get expensive. If you're just doing counts, that's less expensive. So it just depends on the scope of the work.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second.
Do we need to also include the Planning and Zoning Commission?
I would think so.
Okay.
I would say you need to meet with
Instead of
planning.
saying boards, I'll say Planning and Zoning Commission, Park and Tree Board.
So you amended your motion.
Okay?
Yes.
We will do that. We will do that. They meet the first Tuesday of March. Before that, we will go to the next Park and Tree Board meeting. We'll get their comments. I will write the city manager a memo of what happened, so you'll be fully up to speed. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you altered your motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
You have that, Lavona?
Cron made the motion. Living Good seconded?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Alvidrez?
Aye.
Swager?
Aye.
Crone?
Aye.
Living Good?
Aye.
Peterson?
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.
And I don't think that precludes you going out and trying to get donations and grants. You can still show them your 3 concepts and say, we got something here.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda item number 9 is discussion possible. And thank you from Kimberly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 9 is discussion and possible action.
8.
Oh, we got 8?
8.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to skip over that. The agenda item 8 is discussion and possible action on approval of the IBTS contract for 2018.
I would like to make a motion that we table this subject due to ongoing negotiations.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Crone,
Aye.
Living Good,
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 5 ayes.
Agenda item number 9 is discussion and possible action on approval of a professional service agreement between the City of Guymon and Larry Mitchell with M2 Municipal Solutions, LLC. Mr. Mitchell.
This is a contract with Larry Mitchell going through the following months to wrap up anything that he's been working on and to also help me get acclimated to the new position.
Okay. Any questions, discussion, motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve professional services agreement between City of Guymon and Larry Mitchell. Item 9.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Swager,
Aye.
Crone,
Aye.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Living Good,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 5 ayes.
Agenda item number 10 is discussion and possible action on selecting the design consultant recommended by the selection committee for the streetscape design project along Main Street from 3rd to 7th Street and directing city manager to enter into contract negotiations with the selected firm. Mr. Clapson.
Mayor, Council, I think the staff report's fairly self-explanatory as far as the process where we started. You authorized us to do an RFQ. We did that. We sent out 10 proposals. We got 4 back. We put together a committee to score those proposals, just like we did the soccer complex. This will go exactly the same process and procedure. Those results are in front of you, and unless you have any questions, we would respectfully ask for your approval to move forward.
Are there any questions?
If we contract with a design consultant and come up with a design, what kind of a timeline are we looking at? Do you have any idea?
Before we got a concept plan?
Well, I mean, before we start doing it.
Well, the first thing we'll have to do is see if we can negotiate a contract. We will come back to you if we're able to do so. At that time, while we're negotiating the contract, I think at that time we would have better information for you as far as the time frame of how long we were looking, if that makes sense. I would not want to steer you the wrong way. I don't really know what, I don't really have an idea about that right now. But once we contract with we do this, we have somebody on board, we will bring them to you when they're up for approval, and at that time we'll have a better idea of a timeline, how we get from A to when we're done.
My concern is that when we did the section that was south of the railroad tracks, there was a long gap between the time that we started and the time that it finally, the actual construction got started. The cost just went over the top, and frankly, we don't have the money to do anything like this right now. I understand we've got some grant money to do a design or whatever, but again, if we wait 5 or 6 years to start construction, we've got sitting here with a design that we spent money on, and they're going to say, oh, this is going to change, and we're going to have to do different and all that. It just seems to me it's a little premature.
What I would say to that is I think we've learned from that. I think we've gone back and looked at that process that we did before. We have learned our lessons, so we are not going to go down that road again. So we are going to put a schedule in place where we meet certain benchmarks along the way that we know that this is going to get done, and we know when it is going to get done. And I think at this point, it's less, we know we have to go out and do grant writing, get some money, do donations, just like the soccer park. What I would say is we may have, we I think need to sometimes see things in the city for what they can be, maybe not the way they are today. So My my suggestion would be, this does not cost you any money for us to negotiate with the firm. We can dip our toe in the water, see how much it's going to cost, see how long it's going to take, and then from there, we can get better information to you on how to move forward and how to schedule this to make sure we don't make the same mistakes that we did before. I hope that answers your question.
Any other discussion, questions?
I'll make a motion that approve the firm Guernsey proposal.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I think the action is that you direct the city manager to enter into contract negotiations with Guernsey.
Make a motion that we direct the city manager to start negotiations on that project with Courtesy.
Okay, have a motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Crone,
Nay.
Living Good,
Aye.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
4 ayes and 1 nay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 11 is discussion and possible action on approval of the Emergency Operating Plan, EOP. Mr. Tyson.
Mayor, Council, you should have the paperwork in front of you. This took a little bit longer than usual to do. We're trying to change the time frame. The state would like us and FEMA would like us to change the time frame on how we are doing it here in Texas County, and so that's why it's taking a little bit longer. Once your approval, you'll sign those documents, then it will be put on the website.
And this is a year, is this a yearly plan we do or by the year?
Yes, every year we update it. It goes with new council members, new mayors, new police departments, all that kind of stuff, new people in the fire departments, anything new that needs to be changed down through the county and through the city, and it's the same way with the city.
Pretty much the same thing we've had, just different personnel type thing.
A little bit has changed, okay? We've gone to the ESF too, and those have been added. ESF, I'm sorry, emergency support functions. It's easy to say all these ESF and EOPs because I've been in the hospital all day. But yes, this has been updated a little bit, and it will be updated even more. The state is making us go through some more training on the emergency operation plan.
Any questions, discussion, motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the emergency operating plan.
I'll second.
Have a motion in 2 seconds.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Living Good,
Aye.
Crone.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We have 5 ayes.
Thank you.
Thank
May
you.
I make a small comment right quick? We have the COO from the hospital, I think that some of you have not met yet. I would like for you to be able to meet. It's Mike Carter, who's doing an excellent job for our hospital. And so we want to introduce you to him, see him on the street, give him a buck so we can put it under the foundation. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item number 12 is discussion and possible action on approval of the interlocal cooperation agreement.
We just got done with that. We're on 13.
We're on 13? No.
No, he's on 12. Oh, that's right.
I'm right for once.
You guys need better glasses.
Yeah. Agenda item number 12 is discussion and possible action on approval of interlocal cooperation agreement for field internship agreement between Morton County EMS, Stevens County EMS, Haskell County EMS, Grant County EMS, Cimarron County EMS, and the Guymon Fire Department. Chief McFadden.
This is just an agreement that we have to do to allow students to ride on our trucks. Our students unfortunately have to go to other agencies to get their time, but we can allow other students to ride on our trucks. And with that, the insurance is carried by whoever is doing the class, and it's just a formality for us to say yes, they can ride on our trucks. So it should be pretty easy.
Any questions, discussion, motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the interlocal cooperation agreement for field internship agreements between Morton County EMS, Stevens County EMS, Haskell County EMS, Grant County EMS, Cimarron County EMS, and the Guymon Fire Department.
Second.
Got a motion and a second.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Crone.
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Living Good.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 5 ayes.
Thank you, Chief. Agenda item number 13 is discussion and possible action on reappointment of Todd Singletary to the Cemetery Board for a term ending in 2020, and appointment of Cheryl Oakes to fill the vacancy left by Alicia Luera for a term ending in 2019. Any discussion?
I believe Cheryl Oakes withdrew her application. Is that not correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so we'll scratch her name off. So it'll be to reappoint Todd Singletary.
I'd make a motion we reappoint Todd Singletary to the Cemetery Board.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Swager.
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Crone.
Aye.
Living Good.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 5 ayes.
Agenda item number 14 is discussion and possible action on determining meeting location of certain boards and commissions.
I'd make a motion that we allow the boards to choose where they want to meet at a Dutch treat. We don't pay for it if they're eating.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Living Good.
Aye.
Crone.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 5 ayes.
That was easy.
Agenda item number 15 is discussion of the possible action on approval of 2017 budget amendment number 4 for the Guymon Development Fund for an increase of $33,950.
This is,
Staff,
no, this is a split for the Kimley Horn concepts between the 17 and 18 euro. With your
okay.
item 15 and 16.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2017 budget amendment number 4 for the Guymon Development Fund for an increase of $33,950.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Crone.
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Living Good.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 5 ayes.
Agenda item number 16 is discussion and possible action on approval of the 2018 budget amendment number 1 for the Guymon Development Fund for an increase of $32,050. This is for the 2018 budget for the same thing.
Yep.
Any discussion, motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the 2018 budget amendment, number 1 for the Guymon Development Fund for an increase of $32,050.
Second.
Have a motion and a second.
Crone.
Aye.
Swager.
Aye.
Living Good.
Aye.
Alvedras.
Aye.
Peterson.
Aye.
We've got 5 ayes.
Agenda item number 17 is discussion regarding the City of Guymon procedure for utility deposits. Memorandum attached. Mr. Clapsaddle. Oh, wrong one. Way up. Sit down for a second. You're not ready yet. Mr. Mitchell.
I'll set them up for you.
Okay.
You have a memo from me. The question came from Mr. Swagger at the last meeting about how we might look at changing our deposits for utility accounts, and we've given you a couple of suggestions. So if you like either one of those or both of those, I think the transfer for a property owner who's basically selling a house and moving to a new location, I think that's pretty straightforward. That's pretty easy. We can waive that $200 charge there. And then the other one was a question about if someone needed to turn on the utilities temporarily. And I think we can reduce that. Our cost for doing that is about $80. So we think we can cut that deposit, that $200 requirement, in half. So if you're interested in doing both of those, then we can come back with a resolution or amendment to the ordinance to make those changes.
I'd like to see it done.
And that's what you were getting at, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess maybe I'm lost it here. You say the cost of turning it on or whatever is $80. Are you suggesting that we charge that $80? I mean, this is a deposit that we're talking about, not a...
No, but what we're talking about is when someone wants to turn that utility back on for a property inspection or something like that, we have to send someone out to turn it on, and then 3 days later, 4 days later, send someone out to turn it back off. So that deposit would cover that cost of turning on the utilities temporarily. Rather than 200, currently it was 200.
And see, the resolution will state that there is no current provision in the section that creates a long-term custom for maintaining a good payment record. We think the good payment record requirement should be set at a minimum of 2 years, which I agree with. And then, if, for instance, the Campbells, when they wanted to keep the utilities on when their renter moved out and get switched over to their name, there'd be no charge. Is that correct?
Right. But it has to be the request by the property owner.
Right.
We wouldn't be doing this for a broker or a rental management company that's doing this for multiple properties.
Right.
Right.
So you will refine the language to come?
Yeah, we'll draft the actual language and bring it back to you.
We put in criteria of who would qualify to have it.
Well, the criteria is the property owner. At least that's my view of it. It'd have to be the property owner. It wouldn't be anyone else.
Well, I was thinking more in terms of a property owner that had a good record with us.
Yeah, with the 2 years.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right, but it has to be the property owner,
Okay.
right. Okay?
Thank you,
Great.
sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell.
Agenda item number 18 is review of a proposed fence permitting process. Mr. Clapsaddle, you're up.
Good deal, because I'm about to build one.
Yes, Mayor, for your distribution, we've
Build one.
distributed a fence ordinance. Today, we do not issue permits for fences. We do not know when they're constructed. We do not know how they're constructed. We do not know where they're constructed. And so the sole intent of this is to try to make sure that we don't have fences built over property lines and other people's property, over easements, utility easements, gas easements, and lines, and so forth. So if you could take a look at this, look at it, have comments, and please get back to us. We would then move forward.
Is there a penalty for building a fence in an easement currently?
Today?
Yeah.
I mean,
if I built a house in an easement, I'm
Yeah.
sure somebody'd say something.
well, today, if somebody built, we wouldn't even know. We don't know. We don't issue a permit for a fence. We don't inspect a fence. We don't inspect the material that it's used for a fence. I drive by, I look, drive down the road, look over, oh, that's a new fence. Well, we haven't seen that. So we don't know if it's built across the property line or an easement. And this will help us have some teeth to look at it before it's built and make sure that it gets built on his property, make sure it does not get built over any type of utility easement, and also gives us the ability to inspect it, to make sure it's constructed correctly so it will stand up to weather, wind, and so forth. This is our first idea, and this is why we're just passing it out tonight.
If we're going to look at whether the fence is on the property line or not, does that put us in any position where if my next door neighbor says, hey, you built, or our fence, the fence is in my yard, that am I going to have any, I mean, my fence is already there.
We occasionally get those as code enforcement cases. I mean, somebody will say, hey, he built his fence over the line. We go out and take a look at it. And if it is, then we write a citation or we send a letter that you have to correct it.
But we're going to be responsible for determining where that line is that correct?
No, the applicant is going to be responsible. They are going to have to show us on a site plan where the pins of the property are. And they're going to have to show us where the fence is going to be constructed, and they're going to have to show us where the utility lines are. And if we go out and look at this site, and if we can't tell where the pins are, then this ordinance will give us the ability to make him get a survey by a registered surveyor and come back to make sure we know where the property lines are, we know where the utility easements are, and that way we know the fence would be constructed correctly.
You're putting a pretty big burden on the citizen.
How much does a survey cost? Do you know off the top of your head?
Not offhand, a couple.
Mr. Campbell.
So we're looking at, you know, a fence costs multiple thousands of dollars on top of a survey that most people don't have on their houses in Guymon today.
Excuse me. Sure. Most everyone gets a survey with their documents where they close on their house. So they should have a survey. Yeah, they should. Yeah, the bank requires it. So, well, they do in most of the state. Anyway. I have one on my house. I bought a house 4 years ago. I got a survey.
What other cities have this ordinance?
Most other cities, any size of city over 15,000 has a fence permit ordinance to protect your easements. We just had a neighborhood meeting in the Elks
That's true.
Edition. What happened there? That's why you have a fence permit, so that someone isn't building in your easement. Someone isn't covering your gas line or sewer line.
But there will be
I don't
no
know.
charge, right?
I got a
For the
survey about,
permit.
I got a survey about 2 years ago, $600, because I had a dispute with my neighbor about a tree. It wasn't a fence, it was a tree. But anyway, that's the purpose of the fence permit, is so you sort of, it's a preventive step. We're trying to be as gracious and accommodating as possible. We're not asking to charge a fee for the application. We're just asking that we have a way of inventorying where those fences go.
Plus, also, if I might add, tonight, this is for review. This is an ongoing
Yes, right.
conversation
Right.
that we will have several of probably before anything's brought to us in the form of an ordinance.
Right. Correct.
And we will also go out with the person before he files his site plan, before he files his application. If he wants to call and say, would you come out and take a look at this before I file, we'll be happy to do that at no charge.
This is a very difficult conversation.
And why is that?
Highlighted in red is the reason why.
Thank you.
Another copy, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
This is a very difficult conversation with the presentation that our former city manager, Mr. Mitchell, put on the other night at the PTCI building of all the problems that can come with this. Unfortunately, without us having a charter, and I don't know how many times I've stood up here and said this city needs to figure out a way to write up a charter, because state law supersedes us. And according to state law, you're not required to pull a permit for a patio cover, storage building, accessory building, pool, or fence, which does cause a problem. And it's like what was mentioned earlier, it does put that problem back on the homeowner. So if the homeowner goes out and builds a fence over the easement, that's too bad for the homeowner. But according to, in my opinion, and what I've discussed with other individuals, we cannot, as a municipality, impose a permit fee on individuals in this city for these items.
There's not a permit fee on what's suggested.
But that's what this ordinance is proposing, is a permit. Not so much a fee, but a permit. And that's the bottom line there. I think, you know.
So people should just go off their plats and not build into the easements?
It's the responsibility of the homeowner to know where to build this stuff, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Right.
And that's what we run into out there in that addition with all the problems.
Correct.
And I get back again, until the city comes up with its own charter, AKA almost like a constitution, we're bound by state law. And we cannot encroach on those rights.
The rights of having a permit pulled, but we can have them move it when we figure out they're in the easement. That
Absolutely. Absolutely. And with in regards to that subdivision out there, that's a very unfortunate situation because you've had a lot of people that have moved into those homes over years that did not know of these, did not know of the consequences. And it's a difficult
Understood.
problem.
It's a safety hazard also, but there's a time for that.
But back to the point of this agenda, it's my understanding that I do not believe the city can impose a permit or instruct the city residents to pull a permit for building a fence. Thank you.
Would you like me to speak to that?
Please.
Please.
The statute that Mr. Boring is referring to is a statute that requires that contractors that build structures, and it lists other things, must provide evidence of general liability insurance and workers' compensation insurance. Then the statute goes on to say excluded from this is contractors who build, among other things, fences. So the statute does not prohibit the city from imposing a permit requirement.
If you read further, paragraph B says this provision shall not apply to a person or persons performing the construction or remodeling to his or her or their own single-family dwelling.
I've read
So I think you're wrong.
Well, that's your opinion. I think I'm right. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
So in closing, just please take a look, review it, comments. We're trying to be proactive to prevent a problem instead of trying to have to fix it later. And that's what I would.
I like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody good?
Yep.
on that one? Agenda item 19 is reports and comments from the city manager and council members. Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Wagner.
Guys, what is before you is a report from Chief Babb. He went through and did some research, and it compares Guymon to other cities of our size throughout our region. As you go through it, you will find that Guymon is better than a lot of them when it comes to crime rates and other things that we deal with in our town. And I thank you, Chief Babb, for getting that information to us. That's all I got.
Thank you. Any other reports or comments?
Well, I'd like to welcome our city manager to his first city council meeting. Mr. Wagner.
You were the other day, you weren't.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I mean, this is first time to sit in here.
He's had a fun week.
Yeah.
Well, I would,
Thank you.
I would like to remind everybody to go vote next Thursday.
Next what?
How about Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Thursday, a little bit later.
Good try.
Good try.
It's been a rough day.
I'd just like to say that I realize there was a lot of controversy and a lot of difference in opinions and what have you, but I was actually really excited today when my phone started lighting up and my email started going crazy. People are paying attention to what's going on around here, and they're voicing their opinions. And looking at this crowd out here, I wish we had that every time. I mean, I'm excited that people are caring about Guymon for a change.
Thank you. Nothing? All right. Well, if nobody has anything else, we'll stand adjourned. Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody, for coming tonight.